Namaste. On behalf of Hindu Students Council, I wish you all a happy Dasera, Shubha Vijaya, and happy Vijayadashami. My name is Shohini Sharkar, and I'd like to welcome you to this Charcha Chat from Hindu Students Council on what garba means to me. So I'd like to start off by giving some quick introductions to all of our panelists today. So we have Kiran Rajkumar, who is a junior at the University of South Florida and president of USF's HSC chapter. She's been involved with Hindu Students Council since 2019. Next, we have Ami Modi, who is a junior at the University of Pittsburgh, and she is currently serving as secretary of Pitt HSC. Next, we have Kriti Gupta, who is a sophomore at the University of Connecticut, and she is the president of Uconn's HSC chapter. And last but not least, we have Ayush Gandhi, who's a sophomore at the University of Connecticut and vice president of Uconn HSC chapter. So thank you very much for being a part of this today. We're really excited to have you all and have this topic about what garba means to me as a Hindu. So I wanted to first start off with asking you all a question, and I'll just call on you each one at a time, about how do you celebrate Navratri on campus? So I know obviously this year is a little bit different because of the pandemic we're in, but I suppose the question is kind of about how your chapter generally celebrates Navratri. And if you would like, you can add in some information about, what you did this year, if you were able to celebrate virtually or in a way that was approved by the CDC. So I'd like to maybe start off first with Ami Modi.
Hi, everyone. So I'm secretary of Pitt HSC. Typically at Pitt, we have a really big Navratri Garba and Ras event. Normally around 500 to 600 people come. There's always free food. There's Ras. We do 2 artis. We have speeches about the significance of Garba and Ras in Hinduism and Navratri too. And it's just overall a really great way for Hindu students to meet each other on campus, and also for people who aren't even Hindu or maybe not even Indian to get to know and learn about the culture and religion itself. Obviously this year, because of Corona, we couldn't hold the 500, 600 people event. But this year we actually did a virtual Navratri event where we packaged up henna cones, gulab jamun mix, or laddu mix, and we sent them to students' houses. And then we had like a Zoom event where we taught people how to make the sweets, and we did henna with them, just so we could get that feeling of Navratri that we're on campus. So we just wanted to make students feel welcomed.
Awesome. So Ayush, you're at the same university. So oh no, you're at Uconn. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit about how Uconn celebrates? And then Kriti, you can go ahead and add on to that since you both are on the same, at the same chapter.
Yeah, so, well, first I'd like to say namaste to everybody. So here at Uconn, what we used to do in the past years is we'd have like Garba hosted in Student Union, and everyone would gather, everyone on campus, and we'd play classical Garba songs. We'd do the arti as usual. We'd give prasadi. But this year, obviously, because due to COVID, it's obviously a little bit different. We plan to do like a virtual Garba over like Zoom, where people like in their own homes or in their dorms, they obviously dress up in their classical attire, and they just play Garba over Zoom along with like however many people attend on the call. Yeah, and then so we'll see how that plays this year, if Kriti wants to take over.
And I'm the president of Uconn HSC chapter. Of course, with COVID, we can't really do much, but we have so far Navratri, and we do hope that people are staying safe. That's why we haven't really done anything in person yet. but we were planning on having a virtual garba, and where people can just do a few rounds, just in their living room.
Wonderful. Kiran, can you tell us about what you guys do at USF?
Hi everyone, namaste. I'm a student at the University of South Florida, and I actually got involved with Hindu Students Council exactly a year ago. And I've never had the opportunity to celebrate Navratri on campus. Just like everyone else, the plan was to have like massive event on campus, but we've had to make a few adjustments. And I think just with everything going on, it's important to look for the silver linings and how we can make the most of the situation by using our resources. So I discussed this with national leadership, and I got in contact with Kriti, and we've never met each other, but because we have technology, because we have Microsoft Teams and FaceTime, we were able to connect and plan a virtual event. So yesterday, actually on Friday and Saturday of this weekend, we were able to host a virtual garba and ras workshop for everybody. So you could dance from the comfort of your own home safely and enjoy Navratri. So that was what happened this year, and hopefully next year it's a little bit different, but we had to make a few adjustments this year, and we're able to put on a successful virtual event and still keep the spirit alive.
Awesome. So I think we can move on to our next question. So just to kind of set this up for maybe people who are not as familiar with how Navratri is celebrated on a lot of college campuses, we do have a lot of campuses where we have Hindu students groups that are really involved with, planning out Navratri celebrations that, as we, heard from these students, that really work on teaching not only the Hindu students that come, but also the community members about what is the significance of Navratri, right? So we just heard about that, but there are a lot of campuses where the Indian Students Association or South Asian Society often will put on a Navratri garba that has absolutely no tie to Hindu dharma, and there's no arti done, there's really no tie there. Why do you think it's important for Hindu Students Councils on campuses to get involved with the Navratri garba celebrations, or either get involved with them or put them on campus? So I will start. Let's go in reverse order with Kiran. Go ahead.
Hi. So I think it's super important for HSC chapters to get more involved with these celebrations on campus, because personally, like as I got older and I got to college, I started appreciating the symbolism behind Navratri. I always knew about the social aspect of like getting together with friends and the feast and just having dinner parties, but today, Navratri means so much to me, and I feel so empowered celebrating it, not only as a Hindu, but as a woman, because we celebrate different facets of the feminine divine through these days dedicated to the different forms of the goddesses. And whenever I had these celebrations at home in South Florida, I would bring my friends who were unfamiliar with Hinduism, and I would explain to them before we go, just so they're not like caught up in the midst of everything. They're like, what's going on? I would always tell them that garba is danced around a murti, or the holy fire, to honor that all human beings have that divine energy within them, and just explain to them the significance of it, and like walking them through the steps as well, and then showing them arti as well.
Wonderful. Kriti, yes, I'd love to hear your perspective.
I think Kiran said it pretty well. She touched up basically on everything I wanted to say. I think that the Hindu Students Council, like if we were to host a garba celebration, we would be able to touch up upon the spiritual and historical aspects of garba, which I think is kind of missed off when another organization hosts it. And these are just like some things that maybe, diminishes the entire cultural aspect of it, and people who are coming from other cultures, they don't understand the true meaning of garba and why we celebrate it, and why we celebrate Navratri in general. So the meaning itself is just lost. And I feel like if we were to do that, we would be able to help others understand why we celebrate it, and they would be able to enjoy as much as we enjoy it as well.
Great. Ayush, do you want to add to that?
Honestly, I think Kira and Kriti really just summed it up. Yeah, I feel like garba, especially on campus, the meaning gets lost. I'd say due to like all the celebrations. I mean, yes, it's part of it, but the true meaning is like it gets buried over like the actual like the festival itself. And so I feel like it's just always good to give ourselves a little reminder that we celebrate Navratri because of these reasons, as Kiran pointed out.
And Ami.
Yeah, I completely agree with what they were saying. Also, just to add on, at the University of Pittsburgh, one idea that we had to make sure people really understand the religious aspect of it was to host a general body meeting before every garba that we have, just to make sure that, just to teach people like what Navratri actually is, explain all the deities, just so people know what we're actually celebrating. And then one idea that I really like that Kira and I worked on together, we actually translated the songs that they did garba to in the workshops, which I thought was super great because not only are you like dancing to something, but you truly understand the meaning behind it because they are religious songs as well.
Thank you. That's really important. So I think that we've talked a lot about why it's important to get HSCs involved, and we talked about explaining garba and Navratri to others. So I'm curious, can I hear, and this is a free for all, so anyone can just speak up. I'm not going to call on anyone. But what does garba mean to you? And if someone asks you, can you explain what's going on here? What would you tell them?
Some of my earliest memories was going to temple during Navratri and dancing in these concentric circles, and sometimes I would fall over, sometimes I couldn't keep up, but as I got older and I was more curious about the symbolism of the dance itself, I knew there was some reason. It couldn't just be a folk dance because everyone loved it and everyone was so engaged in it. I knew it had to have some bigger meaning. And I learned that garba is performed in these concentric circles and they represent the cyclical view of time in Hinduism. So one thing that I really love about garba time is that so many Hindu values are displayed in art and dance that are often overlooked. So I think it's really important to explain that. So I know in the future when I go to temple for garba with my friends, I'll always make sure to remind them this is something bigger than just dancing.
Great. Anyone else want to jump in? All right, I guess your answer was perfect. So I think there's also another interesting thing I've heard of is that the circles around Ma Devi actually could also represent the womb, which I thought was really interesting because that's another way of kind of thinking about female divinity and being able to celebrate that female divinity through, performing garba or ras in a circle. So I think that's really great. So I wanted to know a little bit more. We talked about garba, but how, I guess, when you're at an HSC event and you're putting on Navratri, how do you explain what Navratri is to someone who is maybe a Hindu student who doesn't know what Navratri is, or is someone who is outside of the Hindu community who's very curious?
Well, I guess if anyone has asked me who isn't Hindu or has limited knowledge of Hindu values, I always start by trying to relate it to something that we are all familiar with, and that's feminine strength, energy, and power. And that was a value that was always of really great importance in my home, and I wanted to preserve that message as well. So if anyone asked me what Navratri is, I was like, hey, it's 9 nights of just celebrating feminine power. I think that's completely amazing.
If you don't mind if I join in, but I agree with Kiran and what she said. It basically just symbolizes how great a woman is and like how important they are in our society. And it emphasizes on that a lot, which is why we celebrate through those 9 days. And I also, like, if someone were to ask me, I would be like, yes, it's celebrated in the month of October. We do all these festivals of doing the garba, which is like dancing. It's like the womb dance, as I would say, like in like English, but garba basically means like the womb, and I just explain it like that from there. Yeah.
Just to like add on, I would probably also include that garba is just one of the main ways that a lot of people celebrate Navratri. There's also, I actually just recently learned that just coming to college that people set up golu dolls in their house and then they come like visit your house and people come eat together. And I thought that was a really great tradition as well. So just like learning about different traditions as well besides just doing garba, I thought that was really interesting for me.
I mean, that's a really good point. And I think that there are a bunch of HSC chapters who will ask students, you know, what are all the different ways that you celebrate this same festival of celebrating female divinity, but in a different form. So I'm Bengali. So right now I'm actually sitting at Durga Pujo right now. So I don't know if you can hear some of the music coming from downstairs, but it's, you know, I actually didn't even know really what Navratri was because we celebrate Durga Pujo so much. So yes, there are so many different cultural practices, whether you're from, you know, different parts of the world or you're from a different part of, you know, a different state in India or, you know, wherever you're from. I think it's really, really great to be able to see that there are so many ways of celebrating this festival of female divinity other than just doing Navratri Garba. So thank you for bringing up that point. Kriti, did you want to add anything to that?
I was just gonna emphasize what everyone else said. There are many ways to celebrate Navratri. I know personally what I do is I fast the first and the last day, and on the last day we celebrate Ashtami, and that day we make halwa puri chana and then give it to 10 little kids. And then that's when we break our fast. After we pray to those 10 kids, we break that fast. So I think it's just, and everyone does it differently. And you don't need to fast, you know, that's not something that, you know, it's mandatory. All of these different celebrations that we do, it's different every place. And it's not necessary that you follow all of the like all of the different ways. You know, some people they fast, some people don't, you know. It's just, it's up to you. It's how you want to worship, and there's no wrong way to worship.
Thank you. That's really beautifully said. And I appreciate all of the different comments. And it's so great to get these different perspectives from different universities. That's a huge part of why we have a Hindu Students Council that brings together all these chapters together into one space so we can learn from one another. So I really appreciate that. So we did get one question from the audience. And that question is, what is one thing you wish your college's Ras Garba team would do that would represent Hindu Dharma more authentically? Not all of you have to answer, but I'd be curious if any of you have a thought about this.
At the University of Pittsburgh, our Ross team, I don't think they really put on any religious. They kind of just do like the cultural thing, which is like promoting like the dance on campus, but I haven't really heard anything about promoting the religious aspect of it. So I think that'd be really cool for them to take an initiative and just inform people who are, you know, watching the performances on campus, or just informing their members like this is like not just a dance team, it's also just a religious practice that we do to celebrate Navratri.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I agree as well. Our Garba, our RAS team actually is more dance oriented, and in the entire year that I have been on campus, I have not seen them or heard anything about them touching upon the cultural aspects of it. Rather, they just touched upon like the dance and that's about it. So I was thinking maybe like if that were to happen, maybe we could help them try to coordinate something together and, you know, try to explain like the different like the cultural aspect of behind garba and ras, because I know many people on the ras team, and many of them don't really know what garba is, you know, why is it like why how it became to be a dance, and all the different cultural reasons, just the reasonings of why it's like, you know, so so popular, and like, you know, just the traditional aspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Karen, you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So I personally like can't speak for my own school's RAS team, but I think the beautiful thing about being at a university with so many multicultural organizations is the fact that we can all network. And since we are all members of Hindu Students Council, we can always reach out to those organizations and those dance teams and try to put together a collaborative event. And I think what we can do moving forward is try to have these dance teams pair up with us and make a routine to a devotional song. And you can translate it too and show the audience what this means, and just try to like bridge the gap between dance and Hinduism.
Sounds good. Ayush, do you want to jump in on this question as well?
Yeah. Adding on to what Kriti and Amy said, I feel like at least here at Uconn, the RAS team, they perform very well. They definitely do, or they definitely perform how RAS should be performed. But I feel like the message also gets hidden like under the rug, because not many of their members really know what like garba means and where RAS comes from, like its roots and stuff. And so I just feel like we should like, or I feel like they should like at least incorporate or like focus or touch upon what garba means and like why we practice this dance. And yeah, instead of just like competing for like the sake of it, I just feel like they should touch upon like why we do what we do. But yeah, other than that, I think we're doing pretty good.
Great. Yeah, I think that the things you guys brought up are very universal comments that are true across a lot of universities. So I do appreciate your ideas about that, and definitely would love to see more partnerships happening. Yeah, I think I think we also have a quick comment about Aarti. I think it's something that, you know, a lot of Ras and Garba teams actually don't know how to sing the Aarti even. So I think that's something that we can definitely try to incorporate more into the Ras and Garba teams across North America, and even other places if they have them. So I think with that, I would like us to go ahead and start to wrap up this session. So, but before I do that, I would love to ask if any of you have any closing thoughts you would like to share, you know, something that you thought about that you didn't get a chance to express yet. I'd love to hear that. And I think we'll go with Ami first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a final comment. Even though, you know, Navratri couldn't happen in person, I think all the chapters did a really great job of just putting together all their resources and just doing what they could. So yeah, I'm really proud of that.
Awesome. Great. Kriti.
I really don't have much to say or add on to. I feel like I've said all I wanted to, and everyone else did say whatever I wanted to say.
Great. Ayush?
Like Ami said, I feel like everyone's trying to do their best, especially in like a tough time like this, during like a pandemic. And I feel like everyone should like give themselves like a round of applause for at least trying to like partake in these Zoom like garbas. Like I know it's not like the same feeling, but it's just like the idea and like the thought that counts, and just trying to get out there. So I'm like really proud of everyone for trying, and yeah, that's about it.
Great. And last but not least, Kiran, who was one of our organizers for our Hindu Students Council, our garba that we just did over the last 2 days. So I'd love to hear if you have any closing thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first I have to say that learning a Ras and garba routine online, I did not think it would be easy. Doing everything online is a completely different experience. I know a lot of us feel like we're teaching ourselves class material and like we have to review things a million times, but actually we were lucky enough to have some great instructors for our workshop this weekend. They simplified the routine and walked us through the whole thing, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I just wanted to end off and say that although so much is going on right now, we have so many resources at our hands to network with other organizations and meet so many other people. Like I actually met Kriti and Ami through this pandemic, and I'm so lucky to be connected with them and try to grow HSC and just get to know each other better.
Thank you so much. I would like to take this time to thank all of our panelists, not just for being on the panel today, but also for all the work that you are doing on campus and with our Hindu community and also with the outside community. I think the work that each of you is doing is absolutely wonderful. And for that, I really, really want to thank you on behalf of Hindu Students Council. So thank you to Kiran, Kriti, Ayush, and Ami for your time today. And with that, I would like to tell you all a little bit about Hindu Students Council. So HSC is a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3, and we have different chapters, different colleges and universities throughout North America, as well as in other countries. As you can see, we have representatives from many of our chapters here today, and we have more chapters across the country. So if you're interested in starting a Hindu Students Council chapter, you can reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're there. Or you can reach us at our website, which is hindustudentscouncil.org. The other thing to note is we actually do also have chapters at high school. So if you're a high school student who's interested in starting a chapter, please feel free to reach out to us. And with that, I would like to wish you all once again happy Dasera and Shubho Bijoya, and namaste to you all.
Thank you so much, Shohini. Happy Navratri.
Happy Navratri.